All right, we're live. And Reece of Pixels and Plough, a new music program for YouTube. Of them, as we all know.
Yeah.
Creation, music theory, know the fuck out how we want to. My brother Reece here, Pixels. Could be the worst name ever. But we figured just about some music concepts that we think of with music. I guess we do think about music a lot. I know we nerd out about it. But today I thought alternate tunings actually showed me something which I haven't seen anyone else do before on a guitar. Start talking and does the old switcheroo in here. We're going to see that you're using 2 capos at the moment. Fresh to my eye. So maybe you want to give us a bit of a rundown what you're doing, Reece.
Yeah. So what I'm doing is I've got a regular guitar capo on the 2nd fret and a ukulele capo on the 4th fret. That ukulele capo, it's only covering the 4 thickest strings. So the 2 thinner strings are back on that 2nd fret with the 1st capo, yeah? So essentially, the 4 thickest strings are up a major 3rd from what you normally have. And the 2 thinner strings are only up a whole step. And gives me some nice flavors. Like if I play just a regular E minor shape, it'll actually give me a G sharp minor 11 right off the bat.
That's pretty tasty. So you just you got like a whole range of chords you play with. You want to give us a spin?
Yeah, well, actually,
show us which tuning does.
Yeah, I've used this particular sort of setup on one of the songs that's going to be on my album, and it opens up with that chord that I just played. Then I shift up the voicing, which is something interesting with other alternate tunings. Usually you just have what's at 0 and that's it. Like you can't go past that. Whereas here I've got sort of 2 points of 0, if you want to think about it that way. Instead of just being limited to the 4th fret and beyond, on those thinner strings, I've got 2 extra notes there. So that's getting utilized there. Then when I move to this chord over here, it's what would normally be a G add 9 shape, but I've got this nice chorus effect here. Because with that 2nd string, you end up with the octave there. Other things that happen, if you play like a G major 7 shape, in this particular setup, it actually gives me a B major 9, but without the 3rd.
Really voicing that one, definitely.
Love that one.
Yeah. So what about when I play the chords that are used as the ukulele capo? Can you do some normal shapes where your frets are there? Because it seems like I'd be stuck with some of those voices where the top 2 strings are 2 frets lower. Yeah,
well, I can actually do some barring on those on that 2nd fret in relation to the 1st capo. So you can actually get some chords like a regular C major 7, for example, or in this case, an E major 7.
Yeah.
But then you take it away, all of a sudden you've got an E6-9, which I played it with Dave the other day, and he was like, "That's the Spandau Ballet chord." If you think of the song "True."
Yeah, true. It is.
Yeah, true.
Well, I think when you're going to use this alternate tuning anyway, like you're probably not really going for the standard chord shapes, because it looks like what you were playing before, you're mainly sticking to some of those regular bar chord or regular open chord shapes, and it just happens to, I guess, yield some really nice voicings that you might not think of otherwise. So is that what you're normally going for? Are you going for the happy accents, or are you thinking in your head, I want to be able to play a 6-9 voicing, I want to be able to play a major 9 voicing easy, and then you set up the tuning to be like that? Because that would be not how I would think of it at all. I'd be just wanting to wing it.
It's definitely the former sort of happy accidents. applying what I already know and seeing how that's affected by the different setup. Like a C major 7 chord, that is like a go-to for me when I'm writing. But with this different setup, it gives me a different flavor. But I don't set out to do that. Yeah.
I think what you're doing, you just take it, and what a lot of guys do. Like, you know, there's a lot of people out there, and this is not begrudging anyone, but there's a lot of people that just know their basic open chord shapes, and the only way they really get variety across the different songs is just by capoing up to a new fret, a different key, right?
Mm-hmm.
I guess a richer kind of step upon that, but no shame in setting it up like that and playing a normal chord shape if it sounds amazing. Like, just the technicality or demonstrations of your skill is what makes it sound good. It's just the voicings. It needs to be good if you don't look at someone playing it, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, I say that a lot of it is happy accidents, but at the same time, I'm very much a composer, so I'm thinking about like smooth voice leadings and stuff. So I'm not going to be doing all of these disjointed things. I'm always thinking of how that's going to go into the next chord and the chord after that. Like that chord right there that I showed you before, what effectively ends up becoming a B major 9 without the third. I start off in that section in that song, I start off with a C add 9 shape. So we've got that note up on top, and I move to that major 9 voicing afterwards. So I've gone down the semitone, yeah?
Yeah.
But then, to give it a bit more contrast, moving to the next chord, I go down major 3rd. I end up with this minor 11 sound. Basically, I'm playing what would normally be an A minor 7 shape, but because we've got that first string down a whole step, I end up with the 11th instead of doubling up on the 5th.
Just for curiosity's sake, can you play me with an F chord shape with the 2 open strings at the end?
Oh, yeah. You end up getting that in a unison, and then you've got what's that? That's a 6th. Yeah, which would normally be if you were in standard, that would actually be like a major 7 sharp 11. Here it's a bit more not as exotic.
Neutral. It's not, but it's the chorusing effect, which is nice. And
yeah,
those bar chord shapes actually pretty work all right. Like using just your Fs and your G barred chord would work pretty nice with that, I think.
Yeah. There's another part where I get this major 7 shape by bringing my thumb over. I'm leaving that first string open the whole time. That's why instead of just barring across, I'm using a thumb. But I actually move it up sort of in the reverse of what Stairway does. And so by the time I get to that major 1 chord, you got that
rub to it there.
Semitone clashing there with the major 3rd and the perfect 4th.
Yeah. Say they're like 11s and 4s are an avoid note, because that chord is glorious to me. 4th and a major 3rd together.
Yeah, it makes sense because you're delaying the 3rd. You know, you don't want to give away the 3rd traditionally, but I mean, a lot of that. What's the term? That I guess that modern sound is that dissonance anyway.
So like
things, yeah.
Like so what chord was that? The one you just did then? The
last one?
The major one? Which I'm not too used to your tuning, so what was that one?
Oh sorry. It's it would be a C sharp major with the 4th in there.
That's the one, right? C sharp, you're right.
Yeah. And because that far up, the note that I'm playing on the second string is actually higher than the note on the first string. That's the fifth there. So you're not getting that clash right on top. It's actually contained almost more in the middle of the chord.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So that's what I was trying to do with the voicing there.
Yeah.
See, my problem, I get why you don't want to always use that chord, because it does give away the third, unless sometimes you're using that fourth and the third in the chord. I mean, you could use it as a melody note, but if you're using that actual major fourth in the chord, the natural four sound to me, leave that fourth out on that major chord, ambiguity. I think by adding that fourth in, that's actually truly gives it that Ionian sound, because you know, that if you just play the standard C sharp major, right? You can hear that through the recording at the moment, right?
Yeah, I can hear that.
There, and you kept it very basic. You've I mean, it could be, if you have the melody note there, you can away what it is. Yeah. I feel as though when you put the fourth in over the third, that's what gives it the truest Ionian sound. Because
definitely.
It could be that, really. And
that's the Lydian, the sharp four.
The Lydian one, right? The sharp four, right? And then, or if you have the seventh, right? The flat seven there.
Yeah.
Yeah, that gives it away. I know it's very, very common. The way Lydian the most is you're going to be using the sharp 11 in there.
Yeah.
And that's got the rub as well, right? I mean, the rub is with the fifth instead, but
yeah, it's nice. I first really picked it up listening to a lot of Eric Whitacre's stuff, and hearing that through finely tuned vocals is a very pretty sound. And it's very good, especially when you know, you're ending off a phrase or whatever. You want to resolve, but you're not ending the piece. You're still moving to another section, you know. So you come home, yeah. You're not hanging around, or you're at home, but you know you're not going to stay there for long.
Topic of Eric Whitacre, by the way, like insanity. Like I think he's probably the best choral composer for me, like for my tastes.
Yeah,
opens up, and it's not like you're opening your ear to pure dissonance and sounds. It still sounds so beautiful and still so melodic, but he has a lot of tensions in there.
Yeah.
Like singers to actually intonate that properly, I have no idea, because I just imagine I haven't really broken down the parts to try and sing them myself, but I can't imagine that they'd be easy at all to do.
Yeah, I sang one of his pieces at uni as part of a choir assessment, but I had the bass 2 part, so that wasn't too bad. You can really hear the separation there. I'd hate to be in the middle with like the tenors or the altos or something.
So many parts where he's got like you got like major seconds and minor seconds apart. Even like voicing like minor 11 chord, right? That's pretty hard to sing, but he has a lot of tensions in there. Like if you have like a G minor 11 where you have an octave, so it's pretty much the first 5 notes of a, right, like G, A, B flat. Like that would be such a common thing in his music as well. Yeah. And he might have some of the notes double in there, and then he'll actually chuck in another note like that there. That's got the C sharp as well in there.
Yeah.
That
it's just like a
nice much, right? Like
yeah.
Unless you've got an absolutely incredible ear, but it sort of doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Though you can get away with having really odd voicings and get away with. I feel as though guitar can have some pretty weird chords, but you usually got to separate it in the different octaves.
Yeah.
Hammond organ or Rhodes, a keyboard patch like what I'm using there, you can get away with nearly any note together, right? Like just picking random notes. No matter what you do, it sounds good.
Yeah.
Human voice, if you're doing those really complicated voicings like that, providing the setup to them and the departure from them is good, you can really get away with anything.
That and that so much of it, like setting it up, because if it's out of nowhere, then it's kind of like it's just been for the sake of it, and it is very hard for the individual performers to land on the notes. But if the setup is there and it's all heading towards something, everything is an individual line without these crazy jumps, it makes sense, and it does make it a lot more performable as well.
And I mean, normally, if you're writing 4 voices, if you make sure that all of your voicings you're doing have 4 distinct parts, if your leading is good, you can usually get away with it. Usually where it breaks apart is when someone writing with just triadic harmony, right?
Yeah.
3-note voicings, and then someone just starts to put like a 13th or something in there. You know, the typical for a couple of years, presses A in Guitar Pro, brings up the chord list and goes 13. Oh yeah, that'll sound fucking sick.
Yeah, yeah.
And it has no regard for voicings at all. It's just
yeah, no, that's right. That's right.
That doesn't sound too good. But Eric Whittaker is kind of a genius because he'll have only like maybe 4 or 5. Only is kind of a bit of a weird word to use there, but he'll have 5 voices going, and then he'll just chuck in like a 12-note voicing. Good.
Yeah.
Pretty much because he's a genius.
Yeah, that's right. He is.
I reckon we got pretty off topic there on alternate tunings, but that was pretty fun still.
Yeah, no.
I reckon next time, how about I update this dog shit webcam and don't at the moment. And there's a dog outside that's going to get murdered sometime soon as well. Possibly your dog.
Yeah, yeah. I think it's both my
your
dog.
Oh, the scene. Sing together.
Yeah.
For a terrible pun from you to rescue me from that horror.
There's probably been a few sharp 11s or something in there in relation to what I've played.
Yeah, well, I reckon we'll leave it there. So this has been Pixels and Plough. We talked about alternate tuning, but I might change the title and some of the other stuff we spoke about.
Yeah.
Try this up. Like I think we'll at least be able to do this weekly, man. Maybe if we've got a spare 20 minutes, it's more than once a week. But just say weekly for now, so that we don't die under the not releasing videos if it doesn't happen.
Falling behind. Yeah. I know.
Yeah. And if I press stop broadcast now and this video doesn't upload properly, I'm just going to give up music altogether.
Yeah.
This has been Pixels and Plough.
Till next time.